Welcome to Fresh Tech Tips. I'm Derrell Norris, CEO of Fresh Tech Solutionz. And today I have a couple of my business partners with me today.
Hello, everybody. I'm Nicholas Mbezu Daniel, founder of Aegis Project Management, LLC.
And I'm Dr. Doug Franklin, co-founder and CEO of Launch LLC. How are you guys doing today?
Awesome, man. Awesome on this beautiful Monday. So nice outside.
Yeah, good for the rain to come down. I mean, my grass has needed it, so I'm not gonna complain.
Right. So today's Fresh Tech Tip topic is do the right thing. So this is our ethics episode. Welcome. So, Nicholas, please hit me with one of those beautiful definitions of yours. What is ethics?
Yeah, definitely. So ethics is defined as a set of moral rules that govern businesses and how they operate, how their decisions are made, and how people are treated within the business. And I'm interested to know what Dr. Doug thinks. That's the regular definition. Doc, what's your definition?
So the doc's definition doesn't deviate too far from what you said. So when we talk about business ethics, we're asking you if you're doing the right thing with regards to many of the stakeholders that you have. So in the business world, it's not just about making sure that you feel good and maximizing value for yourself, but it's also just the requirements for you to take care of those stakeholders all around you, whether they work for you, they don't work for you, they partner with you. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the different groups of people that you have to consider ethics for a little later on in the show.
Love it. So the purpose of business ethics. So Nick, let's talk about why is it so important for business ethics?
Yeah, I think right now, and the reason why we chose to talk, let's just bring it back a little bit, the reason why we chose to talk about this right now, I think people everywhere can see that there are many things going on right now that have businesses in a state of limbo, in a gray area, and they don't know, okay, should I do this? Should I not do this? Most times, ethics is not about when things are clear cut, even though some people still make bad decisions where it's clear and obvious the right thing to do. But a lot of times, is the clear and obvious right or wrong is not there. You're within the gray area. So ethics really exists to help you, give you a code or standard to follow to keep you and keep your business safe. So ethics helps businesses navigate the gray area between absolutely right and morally wrong, and so that you avoid some of those consequences that come from bad ethics.
So, and I love that, and that kind of gives me right to my next transition, the cost of bad ethics. So we have a lot going on right now with coronaviruses in Houston. Businesses are opening back up. One of the negative effects that we've seen recently, I think yesterday there was 2 bars that got closed down by TABC for violating social distancing rules. Doug, Mr. Ethics and Leadership and Diversity, Mr. Doc, how do you feel about this?
So earlier this week, at the end of last week, we read a whole bunch of things about where I dropped an article in the Houston Chronicle that showed somewhere around 30 restaurants that were just shut down because they made the decision to open and they happened to have someone that worked for them that had coronavirus ended up being infected, and the restaurants ended up closing down. And the interesting thing is that if you're really clear on what's going on, is that coronavirus did not care what kind of restaurant you were and where you were at, because it got your mom and pop restaurants. It even got Taste of Texas. So it went from small to large. But the wild thing is in those situations, we just generally think that those were times where someone may have just been infected outside of the job, not necessarily on purpose. They were responsible in and communicating with the staff or their boss. So the restaurant shuts down. But then you have these bars that have been out, and I'm pretty sure that everybody has a bar of their choice that they've talked about where they drive past it and it's been completely packed. And you know that that's not the right thing. We're very clear on that. And so that's where ethics comes in. If you have a choice between money and the goodwill of the people who are going to be paying you, you have to make that right choice. This is the whole, what do you do when your parents aren't watching you thing here? And that is the scary thing. It's a really scary thing because it's one thing to have to, again, it's one thing to have to shut down for a little bit and say, yeah, we had coronavirus. It's another thing to get caught by the city or the state or federal officials where you aren't following the rules because they're sitting inside of the bars and they're paying people to record what's going on at bars. So
yes, definitely, man. And like we said, this is going to cost them a lot of money. I think TABC put a 30-day suspension on their liquor license. So that's 30 days of no income coming in. And so these are things we have to think about when we're making these kind of decisions, when we're talking about public safety, especially in these times right now.
Yeah, that's what's important to me. Now, what Doc is saying, his perspective, he's a professor and he's an ethical person, so his perspective is pure. But I feel like most businesses, they only do things based on bottom line. So we take it, whether it's coronavirus or what a lot of people have seen now, social justice. For the first time, you've seen a lot of business come out and make statements about social justice because the public has decided that being silent or status quo is not enough. So guess what happens? Everybody is making sure that they're putting on a statement saying that, okay, we're donating this much money, we're doing it. And the reason why they're doing that is because they want to be deemed as ethical. Because about 56% of Americans stop buying from brands that they don't think are ethical. Because if you start buying from brands that are not ethical, you yourself, that rubs off on you. And that's something that society really holds high. Even if you're not an ethical person, appearing ethical ends up being extremely important.
Yeah, and to that point, Nick, the thing that's really interesting is that people are really looking for authenticity right now. They're looking for the sincerity. And so it's easy for some of these organizations to just kind of prop up a statement and then hope that it works by saying a couple of the buzzwords that are going on. But when you try to refrain from answering the full call of social justice and you just try to say just enough because you're worried about being political or you're worried about your stakeholders that are affected much less, and you're not willing to say Black Lives Matter, those things add up. People take notice, and it does adversely affect you. No one's saying that your statement is going to be as amazing as Ben and Jerry's diversity statement and just base like unbelievable call to be allies for the community. But no one's here for your boilerplate either. So you have to be very careful in how you word, and if you truly feel that you are serious about social change.
I love that, and it's much needed because there's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of companies out there just doing it just because they don't want to lose that business. But what are your actions behind that? Who's on your board? so these are the questions that we need to start asking and demanding. So let's get to this next topic. I want to talk about the principles of business ethics. So Doc, you always hit us with these lovely bullets and these lovely points. Let's talk about the 4 pillars of ethical enterprise.
Yeah, so there's 4 different pillars of just making sure that you're doing the right thing with regards to just like the way that you run your business, your product, and your business model. Real easy things that we should probably take into consideration every day. But when it comes to ethics, do we think about it every day? Probably not. So the first thing is starting with fairness. So fairness is your business model based on win-win outcomes. So you're getting what you need from your client or the end consumer. But are they receiving something equal or even more in return? This is just flat out value for what they're getting. Are they getting what they need the same time you are? Integrity. So can your business product and service be promoted with the truth? Are there any, this isn't talking about anything that's like patented or copyrighted that you're not sharing, not like, like a secret sauce or seasoning. This is not that. What this is just really being honest about what you're giving. What does your product do? Do you provide people with what you say you actually have? And then decency. Can you unashamedly tell people what your business does? So the essence, if the essence of your business is something that you'd be able to say on the Disney Channel, it's probably going to keep you pretty well squared away. There are other things that sometimes aren't necessarily the easiest to be able to explain to everybody, but to be completely fair, as long as your offering is age appropriate for that specific set of people you're looking for in your target market, that's still ethical. And then sustainable. Does your business make efficient use of resources? So if this is time, this is of course physical resources. Hopefully your product doesn't make waste where it affects the environment. This is a bit of everything here. If your product's not wasting your customers' time, your employees' time, and then other physical resources, then you're being sustainable.
Definitely. So fairness, integrity, decency, and sustainability. Nick, you got anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. I wanted to say, you said FIDS. I like that. FIDS. I had so much understanding, but one thing, the first thing that we kind of mentioned is some people don't think about ethics, and I was just joking with Derrell earlier when we're working on this, that man, he's really ethical. Fresh Tech Solutions is really ethical. We've never ever sat down and had an ethics meeting. It's just something that we cannot realize, that if for you to do good business is ethical. Why would you not want to do a win-win for you and your customers? That's why pyramid schemes come and go, because it's not a win-win for you and your customers. It's a win for you. That's not going to last. If you think about any news story that you've seen where big corporations are being sued, they're losing a lot of money, one of these pillars has been misused. Whether it's there's an oil well that's broken down in the middle of the Gulf and oil is pumping everywhere, and you look down to in there, and they've just decided, we're not going to service this pump for this long. Or just now, I think I posted something last week about the forest fires. Turns out that they knew that those light poles needed to be serviced for a long time, and decided, you know what, money is more important than the environment. It's always going to come back to bite you. So good business is ethical business.
Yeah, and it's easy, honestly, and it may be because of how I was raised. Shout out to my mom and dad. But those values are instilled in me. So I mean, it's like I said, we've never had an ethics meeting. Like I demand excellence when it comes to ethics. Like that's not nothing we have to talk about. I know when we grow, we're definitely gonna have to talk about that. But with these three guys, it's expected. It's mandatory. Ain't nothing unethical going on because Fresh Tech name is on it. Declan's name is on it. Easy's name is on it. So it has to be ethical.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Doc.
Oh no, I actually had a conversation with a couple of guys probably a couple of weeks ago, right after the tragedy of George Floyd, and I want you guys to appreciate how quickly ethics can change. And so there was a possibility the police were called based on a counterfeit $20 bill. it is so unbelievably easy to see counterfeit $20 bills be passed around across so many different places. I've worked in a bunch of different industries where when someone uses that pen and if they by accident take a $20 bill, they try to pass that either to a customer or back to the bank as fast as they can to keep the $20 in their business's name. Why? Because if they're not off $20, their job is safe. If they're not off $20, their boss isn't going to get mad at them. Sometimes their boss tells them to do that because their boss is worried about their boss. Covering their tracks rather than doing the right thing because of how we associate punishments and rewards with regards to money versus actually doing the right thing. Could you imagine if that $20 bill was passed by somebody else outside of his knowledge, which definitely happened because it happens all the time.
That's what happened. That's exactly what happened.
I mean, that's like the little stuff the stuff you think is little that you're doing really has serious implications.
Right.
And in some cases,
that's the big
life-changing in the cases.
Right.
So yeah, man. I agree with that 100%. You have to. It's bigger than you right now. These ethics things could trickle over times 10.
I think that's a perfect time for us to talk about how ethics affects people around us, how it changes based on who our target is, who we're impacting. How does ethics change based on who's the target?
Okay, so let's talk about the customer. How does ethics change based on the customer?
This is one of the two easiest places to go ahead and, if you wanted to, rob people blind, because you're.
I don't want to.
Because we're in a service-based industry. All three of our businesses that we work in every single day are service-based industry. When I'm working with my students, it's a service-based thing, and one of the things that I'm obligated to be able to do is to be very transparent when something isn't good or I don't know something and I need to find the answer, or if I make a mistake. It's important to be ethical about those things. The reason why we did the Why Your Idea Sucks show, and we tell people that not all ideas are good ideas, is not because we want to feel like the guys on Shark Tank. That wouldn't help anyway, because we're pretty much thousandaires right now, so that's not really the business. But it's actually to protect people from themselves when they might be making a mistake with their business. The best example we have, we found out that one of our first few clients, it would have cost them probably between $500,000 and $750,000 they didn't have just to be able to put themselves in the proposal phase to get their app accepted by one of the larger bodies in the city, public organizations in the city of Houston. And even though they stopped working with us, after I told them that it would not be the right thing for us to continue to take their money, and I'm not sure how far they've got along with the idea, but the principle was they literally did not have that type of money, and that number actually went from 500 to about 5 million after we made that decision, because we fast forwarded a month later, and the market leader got a $5.5 million Series A investment, and so we could have kept going, and we could have been up a couple of $1,000 that wasn't really going to affect us. But then our client could have went and invested their life savings and then some, someone else's life savings to make it happen, and then we would have hurt the client and hurt way more. Yeah, so that's why we do that.
You want us to tell you your idea sucks. That's what you want, because we want to help you make it not suck.
Yes.
and if it really does suck and we can't help you, we don't want you wasting your money on it. And we try. It's a hard conversation to have sometimes, but it's the ethical thing to do, rather than take somebody's $4,000 for a pitch deck and me knowing they're not going to get funded. No, that's not cool. You don't do that. So okay, so we covered the customer. Let's talk about the employee.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is we can apply this to our business, but let's just go back to the bar example, because that's the easiest. It's the easiest way to make this understandable. You know, somebody gets tested for COVID. We've heard there's a couple of bars right now. Their whole staff has been completely diagnosed and it's not on the news. They shut down, but nobody's talking about it. But I know some owners, and yes, my whole staff, everybody. It's like 8 of us. All of us had it. So I mean, how do you protect your employees? I mean, in those businesses that got shut down, that aren't social distancing, that aren't requiring masks. I mean, yes, it's an issue for your employees. I mean, if I was a bartender and the owner told me that anybody can come in, I don't want to work for you because you don't care about my health. This is a serious thing right now.
Are people people with lives and loved ones, or are they numbers? Or you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, are you seeing this staff is going to give me this much hours, is going to give me this much productivity, and that's what rules? Or is this person who has a son, who has a daughter, who has people who care about them, and do I care about them first? What is it? I mean, everything that this last category that we're talking about. I was going to wait till we talked about community, but it's about it's the marketplace. There's an exchange, okay? So what am I bringing to you? Are you someone who's robbing from the marketplace? Are you robbing from people? Because over time, you're going to be rejected. Not only going to be rejected, it's going to be retribution. But are you somebody who's contributing? Are you giving to the community? So if you end up making a mistake or something does happen, you go wrong, they were like, well, you have a track record of times when you have forgiveness, when you've been dealing honesty. So you can come back. You can give you a second chance. We'll give you a leg up versus if it's the other way, you look at your track record. Oh no, you've been stealing from us. We just haven't caught you. And now we've caught you red-handed. And now it's time for you to pay the piper.
No,
yeah, and I think that's the big thing is a lot. This environment has really forced us to do things a little different because I mean, just the nature of how we've all, basically a lot of jobs always have these issues with calling out, and the unethical piece is that even especially with bars, restaurants, retail, the rule of like not calling out if you're sick has been bent so much that people generally tend to come in sick. Like we are so predisposed to coming in sick because we're afraid. I'm
not wasting my off day on a doctor's visit. That doesn't even sound right.
Right. That was the culture.
But back to the employee thing. I mean, just an example as Fresh Tech. I've been in the office. I do not want y'all in the office, both of y'all, because I know y'all have little ones and responsibilities and stuff. Like I know I'm out there. Like I don't need y'all to. If I get coronavirus, I need y'all to hold down the fort. So yeah, it's you got to think about your employees, and you got to just make sure you're doing what's right for the business and everybody in the community. Let's touch on the community real quick before we head out.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll just tie in this point about, because we just talked about the individual, which are employees, but those employees are not just employees. They're actually people in their community. They're family members, or they teach golf games, or they're coaches. These people are embedded in the community. So when you care for your people, you're caring for the community. When you care for your customers, you are caring for the community. Just want everybody to know that everything is kind of attached. And then we bring it back to the social justice issue. It's very clear the businesses who actually care about their people, because they're willing to take a little bit of risk to their bottom line to stand for their people, to stand for their community. So they're like, okay, so you bring in this Black Lives Matter shirt or this Black Lives Matter, I'm not gonna fire you based on that because I care about you and I understand you, versus Yeah, you have to go home. Just why, Karen? Why do I need to go home? So
Right.
I mean, caring about your community is something that people are actively doing, and it's all connected, is what I'd say.
Yeah, companies for years have always tried to find the value in corporate social responsibility. A lot of it has been directed towards sustainability in the past. So they're looking at you becoming efficient, saving trees, hugging, saving the whales, kissing babies. But this is a whole different ballgame. And the sad thing is that it shouldn't have had to be that whole different ballgame, because I think we've been warned on multiple occasions that, hey, organizations, you got to change your ways. Like it's just as someone who is really about ethical leadership and seeing what's going on with some of these CEOs that have had to leave a little early because they were just a little
doing a little bit.
It's just not. Well, it's kind of funny because it's not a surprise, because we saw when Paul Schnatter from Papa John's did it. We saw Donald Sterling. It's almost 10 years since Donald Sterling. There's a bunch of jerks in between that just didn't realize how important it is to support Black people and other people of color. And that time is gone. And this is going to be something that is going to continue to be a trend. I don't see how everything is going away, particularly with a newly energized community for social justice.
So, man, that's beautiful info, y'all. Thanks everybody for joining us. Before we leave today, please go follow the Fresh Tech Tips Facebook group. We're on all platforms, so please just check us out, subscribe, wear your mask, people, be safe. Just try to protect yourselves. It's not that bad. We have
do the right thing.
Masks, Fresh Tech masks. We have everything. So just, you have all the tools. Do the right thing, and we'll talk to y'all next Monday. Thanks for joining Fresh Tech Tips.